Hello, Rivermen and SPHL fans, and welcome to the video. And as always, thank you for watching. Now, in this video, we're gonna review the weekend that just took place. The two games between Peoria Rivermen and Roanoke, going up against the Rail Yard Dawgs, and what a wild series that was. Stark contrast from game one to game two. Game one was more like a normal hockey game. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too physical. There wasn't even a fight in game one. Rivermen won game one 3-2 in a shootout. Probably should have won that in regulation. Peoria Rivermen should have won that in regulation. And what's funny, at the same time, probably Rail Yard Dawgs should have won that game in regulation. Definitely in overtime. They had every chance in the world to get 2 points against the Rivermen in this game and win it. Rather that was regulation or overtime. But couldn't get the job done. They're a pretty unremarkable team. Nothing about the Rail Yard Dawgs impressed me at all. They got decent goaltending. I'll give them that. They got some good goaltending. Outside of that, they're really unremarkable as a team. The only probably worst team we've played, Quad City Storm. Yeah, there's nothing too fancy or standout-ish about the Dawgs. I mean, Brody Clace has played well for him, and Austin Rodebush is a good goalie as well. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, there's nothing really impressive about the Dawgs. In game one, Rivermen had an outstanding first couple of periods, getting on the board in the first and second period against the Dawgs. I thought they really controlled the pace and tempo in the first two periods very well. It wasn't until about the last 5 minutes, I would say, of the second period that the Dawgs started to see some momentum and gain a little more control. And they got a goal at the end of the second period into the last minute, which really carried them over into the third period, where they flat out dominated the Rivermen in the third period and probably should have won and taken that game completely over. They were only down one heading in to the third period, and they outshot the Rivermen 17-4 in the third period. And they had multiple opportunities to score goals. They should have got 2 to 3 goals in that third period. They only got one and tied it. And that pushed it into overtime. And in overtime, they started on the penalty or on the power play and ended on the power play and outshot the Rivermen 6-1 and still couldn't get a goal. So they blew another golden opportunity to get 2 points and beat the Rivermen in game one and couldn't get the job done. And then the shootout, they couldn't even get one puck by Latinovich. Latinovich was 5 for 5 on stopping shooters on the shootout. So, like I said, there's nothing really impressive. The only impressive thing I seen all weekend from the Dawgs was the third period in game one, and they still lost. And even though they won in game two, I was still not that impressed by anything the Dawgs did. I was even more unimpressed, actually. Rivermen basically hand-delivered that win to Roanoke. I mean, they did. They flat out said, here you guys go. You guys can win game two, with the way Rivermen played after the first 5 minutes, and I'll get a little more into that here. I just got to pull it up on my computer. Give me a sec. All right, so now getting into game 2. I mean, that game became unhinged in the first period. It just escalated so quickly. Before you knew it, 2 coaches were tossed. There was a line brawl. About 3 game misconducts from the Dawgs, about 4 from the Rivermen. It just turned into pure madness. Absolute chaos was that first period. It wasn't... the first 5 minutes of the game was pretty normal. There wasn't... You really didn't even see a build-up, per se. It was just a normal hockey game. Then, out of nowhere, it's like a bomb went off, and this whole game became unraveled and undisciplined by both teams. Started out with Bryce Martin giving a cheap shot to Lazarus Cable, a rookie, first pro year. Bryce Martin did what he does best, and that's attack someone from behind, because he's a coward and a loser, and he can't fight anybody face to face. I mean, you look back to even last year against the Ice Bears, where he attacked an Ice Bear player from behind and took a baseball swing at him and tried with his stick and tried to jump him. Did the exact same thing to Cole Reggianato, took a baseball swing at him and jumped on him when he wasn't looking. And he basically did the same thing to our rookie, Laz Cable. When Laz wasn't looking, he cross-checked him in the numbers, knocked him down, and then started hitting him as Cable was down, because that's what cowards and losers do. And that's what he is. I don't know why any team would want him on their team. He's not a hockey player. He's a bitch is what he is. And he started it all off. Some people say, well, Laz showered our goalie. No, he really didn't at all. He wasn't even facing your goalie. He was off to the side of the net. And Martin just decided to cross-check him in the back for no reason. You know, he didn't want to challenge him to his face, no. You know, even though he's just a rookie. But that's where it all started. A line brawl, then broke out pretty much right after that. That seen Kristen Acosta and Bryce Martin get game misconducts. And I think Travis Broman got a 10-minute misconduct in that. And Alec Bear got a game misconduct out of that as well. Then Laz got a 10-minute misconduct. Michael McChesney, a 10-minute misconduct. But Alec Bear got a game misconduct because they said fighting after the original altercation, which I think is a load of crap. Because it was a line brawl, and everybody was fighting everybody, and yeah, he was the last to get involved, Alec Bear was, but that's because he literally got jumped. I mean, he really didn't have a choice but to defend himself, and so it kind of sucks that he gets a game misconduct because he chose to defend himself instead of getting pounded on. Yeah, so like I said, after that, you had Tristan Trudell go after Joe Widmar. The only reason that happened is because Bryce Martin wasn't on the ice. So you got to send a message and go after somebody. So if Dawgs are pissed that Trudell went after Widmar, be pissed at Bryce Martin, because he's why that happened. I mean, that's why Tristan went after Widmar. That wouldn't have happened if Bryce Martin wasn't a bitch. Let's see Bryce Martin challenge Tristan Trudell face to face. Let's see what happens then. He won't, because he's a coward, like I said. But let's see what happens if he ever tried to do that. But then, it went on again to Then Braden Barker and Adanye get into scuffles shortly after Trudell. And then that's when the coaches got at each other's throat and ended up getting tossed themselves. And then the last incident was supposedly Trezera gave a headbutt to CJ Valerian. I don't think there's much of a headbutt or a headbutt attempt there. I don't really even think he made contact, and if he did, it was a glancing blow that barely happened, and I think it was just them getting face-to-face in a wrestling match and happened to brush heads, but I don't think it was a headbutt intent on injuring or anything of that nature, but it is what it is. So, now it comes down to suspensions. I was thinking about waiting until suspensions came out to do this video. Acosta sat out the game against Knoxville, and of course, that one dumbass, Bryce Martin, sat out as well. And I hope they throw the book at Bryce Martin. I hope he sits out like about 5 games. I hope he gets waived. He shouldn't even be in this league. But I hope he gets the book thrown at him. Christian Acosta, he may be coming back. A 1 game. I don't think he did anything that warranted multiple games. So most likely you'll see Acosta come back. Maybe he might get 1 more game. But I would be good with only 1. And on the Rivermen side of things, the one player I'm least worried about getting suspended is Alec Bear, because I don't even think he should have been tossed in the first place. He did nothing egregious whatsoever that would warrant a suspension, so I'm not worried at all. Obviously, Trudell is going to get a couple of games for what he did. I'll be the first to admit, Trudell got himself a couple of games off. Probably won't see him against the Quad Cities this weekend. If the league wants to really be a stickler, they might give Trezera a game or 2 for the quote-unquote headbutt. I wouldn't give him a game because I don't think he really did anything. And I don't even think he really made contact with a headbutt. But if the league wants to send a message or be a stickler, like, he could get a game. I don't think Braden Barker gets suspended. I think that call on him, that 5-minute major for kneeing and a game misconduct, was grooms being grooms and being overly dramatic and trying to get control of the game. So we just looked for an excuse to toss Barker. It didn't injure the player whatsoever. Didn't even hurt him. So to give him 5 minutes was just a load of crap. And Barker doesn't have a history of this. So I would be shocked if Barker gets suspended. I think Barker and Bear are safe for sure. Those to me are the 2 safest. Trudell is not safe. He's getting suspended at least 2 games. And I think there is a possibility that Frankie Trezera will get suspended a game or 2 for the headbutt incident, even though I don't think there's really anything there. The coaches being suspended, I have no idea. I don't think so, because Brimmer was able to coach the next game, so I think Trudell is safe there as well. So I don't think coaches are getting suspended. They just were ejected. But moving on. Yeah, so that whole first period, basically, the Dawgs were on a power play. After the first 5 minutes, Dawgs pretty much had a power play that whole first period and outshot the Rivermen 20-4. It only got, again, 1 goal. And that was on a 5-on-3. They should have walked away or skated away from that period with 3 to 4 goals, at least. I mean, they had so many opportunities to get goals against the Rivermen. They had their 4-on-3s, their 5-on-4s, 4-on-4 opportunities. They had plenty of opportunities to run the score up on the Rivermen and could only cash in one time, and that was on a 5-on-3. So after that, it was 1-0. Roanoke heading into the second period. And again in the second period, Rivermen outshot Roanoke. Played better than Roanoke in the second period, netting a goal themselves and tying the game up. Rivermen outshot Roanoke 11-7 in the second period and ended up tying the game. In the third period, Rivermen started out pretty well, but then again, they started taking undisciplined penalties. They could not stay disciplined, and at the end of the day, that's what did them in. Adonier taking a stupid penalty that put the Dawgs back on a 5-on-3 for over 2.5 minutes, and of course, they cashed in, because who's not going to cash in on a 5-on-3 with over 2.5 minutes? And that was basically your go-ahead goal. And then, of course, Widmar got the empty netter. So the only 3 goals that Dawgs got, 2 of them came by way of a 5-on-3. And another one was an empty net goal. And for some reason, Roanoke fans are proud of that win. Like, they just absolutely killed it that game. And they didn't. They probably should have lost that game, which is sad. If not for Rivermen taking stupid penalties and handing the game over to the Dawgs, Rivermen probably sweep this series. I mean, I was just completely unimpressed by the Dawgs. Not worried about playing the Dawgs at all. All they got is a decent pair of goalies. Joe Widmar, like I said, I have respect for his ability, but I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Widmar. But I know he's got abilities, and he's a skilled player, but just a pretty overall unremarkable team that I'm not worried about in the least bit and have confidence beating, more so than just about any other team in this league. I'm more worried about Evansville Thunderbolts than I am the Dawgs. I mean, probably the team that, like I said, the only team that is not as remarkable that we faced is Storm. You know, we're 3-0 on Storm. We've dominated Storm in every game. So, you know, that's not news really. But yeah, that's that. Like I said, it was, that second game was unfortunate. I understand why Rivermen felt a need to respond to that line brawl. And I know exactly why they went after Widmar. I pretty much called it. As soon as that line brawl happened, I even put in the group, yeah, Trudell and Ayo are going to respond to that line brawl, just to let you know. And sure enough, the very next face-off, Trudell responded, and Widmar was the target, only because Bryce Martin wasn't on the ice. If Bryce Martin was on the ice, he would have been the target. But like I said, Bryce Martin caused all this. He's the reason that the chaos happened. He's the reason why Trudell went after Widmar. You can blame that loser. I don't know why he's on your team or why you even bother supporting him. If he was a Riverman, I would want him dropped so fast. I wouldn't want him anywhere near a Riverman roster. I wouldn't want him in any roster, honestly. So, yeah, that series ended up being split 1-1. Probably a series the Rivermen could have swept them in Roanoke on. I mean, Roanoke went on to lose to Knoxville Ice Bears 4-1 the next game. Like I said, these guys, they're really not that big of a threat. They're going to have a down year, and I'm going to laugh the whole time because this team is pretty much a joke now. But anyways, I'll go ahead and wrap it up now. I'll catch you guys at the next puck drop. I'll do a video with the Storm previewing that series. Until then, I'll catch you at the next puck drop. And I always keep it Rivermen style.